Recording.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. My name is Edna White. I am a life purpose coach and I specialize in trauma. I want to welcome you to this event and thank you for taking the time out because you could have been doing anything else, but you're here today and going to be with me. We're going to be talking about your emotional well being. And I want to be able to answer your questions. So I have everyone on mute, but if you have a question, please wait to like the near end and I'll be able to answer your questions. So I just want to acknowledge all those that are here today. Let me see, Pennsylvania. I want to thank those that are from Georgia. Let's see, who else? I think I saw California. Yeah, California, Ohio. And let's see, where else? Um, so everyone from wherever you are, thank you for being here. And I'm going to get started. So I know you're all excited to learn about what I know. Oh, I see Jersey popped up. Oh, Liverpool, UK. I know a couple of you from there. Thank you, Emma, for adding that in. But I just want to thank you all for being here. And I am a life purpose coach. I am also an ordained evangelist, and I really specialize in trauma. I am a childhood sexual abuse survivor from the age of 5 to 15. I sought out psychiatric care, and I also did a lot of work on myself once I learned all the tools that I needed to learn. And I am here to share that with you. Oh, I see Florida just popped in as well. I just want to share, some things that I've learned along the way about myself. I also have written a book that's stuff, the things that no one told us about being an adult after sexual abuse. So I am available on, I think it's on Amazon. Everything's on Amazon. And I am coming out with a new trauma book that has 25 of the most amazing women that want to write about their story and how they overcame. And I will give you that information later. But what I'm going to delve into today is explaining what mental health is, explaining what behavioral health is, and explaining what emotional health is. Because we throw these things around all the time. We hear them, and the doctors tell us, and people tell us, I'm telling you, but we really don't know what those things really mean, for ourselves. And as a trauma survivor myself, I was always in survival mode. So my behaviors came from me being in survival mode. So when I say my behaviors, I mean the way that I responded to people, the way I reacted to things, and the way I worked in general, whether it be in my life, on my job, in my business. I I could say I really suffered. I really struggled with how to deal with this was happening in my brain and what my heart was saying and how my body was at reacting. Now, behavior, mental, and emotional have a lot to do with everything that we're doing, whatever we're doing. But most of all, it's the emotional part that we don't take care of. Mental behaviors or mental illness or mental capacity comes from long term not taking care of not acknowledging our emotional health and not being aware of that. We have been taught for many years, um, and I can say this truly because I think I'm old. I would say I'm older, but I would say the one thing that really traumatized me in the beginning was children were to be heard. Well, no, seen and not heard, excuse me. Seen and not heard. And that is totally not true because we are just children, little bodies, but we're human, just like adults are bigger bodies and they're human. So even with that statement, we are traumatized. How should we act? How should we feel? Then we're also further traumatized to say, if you're expressing something to your parents or your parent, I don't want to hear that. This is what you gotta do, and we're instructed not to be emotional. We're instructed, especially men, boys and men, we're instructed not to be emotional, not to embrace how we feel about something. We're instructed as even as Christians, religious beliefs, we're instructed to be emotionless. We're supposed to not show any emotion. So there's no joking, there's no laughing, there's no being who you are. I want you to take this and think about when you were 5 years old before trauma even started. You'd be outside making mud pies out of and it was really dirty. You'd be outside and you'd be doing all of that. And you had no fears. You had no worries. Or you was on a swinging too high. And at that time, for me, I'll say, you could swing really high and you could probably wrap around the pole, but you wasn't concerned about that because you trusted yourself, you trusted what was going on around you, and you felt like you had control. Over the years, we lose that control because of propaganda that's given to us, things that people are saying, people are doing, people are instructing us, people are pronouncing over our lives, people are telling us where we should go and how we should do. And all of that, plus the added struggle of seeing your parents kind of going through what they're going through. So whether it would be divorce, whether it being single parents, whether it be anything like, anything at all like that, just traumatized. They had to work a lot. I know with my mom, she always had to work a lot, even though she was with my stepdad, she had to work a lot, and I saw her not having fun. And so what did I do? I said to myself, I'm going to have fun. I am not going to make my life all about work. I'm not going to struggle. I'm not going to do that. And you make these agreements with yourself. You make them. So on the positive side, you say, I'm not going to do that. But on the negative side, you might say, well, that's the way things are supposed to be, and agree make an agreement. Yeah, I'm going to do what my mom says. I'm going to do what my dad says. I'm going to do what my perpetrator even says and make it all right. All right. So make it all right. And that's what a lot of what I was doing. I contemplated suicide. I even attempted it. Um, to the harshest way, I sat on a train track waiting to die. Um, I even went to the extent of, having daddy issues, not having my father in my life, daddy issues. And let's not forget the good girl or good boy syndrome. Having the good girl and the good boy, you had to not do anything to upset anybody and just be the one that kind of makes everything kind of move smooth, or the peacemaker. All of those things, all of those traumas, we forget, they put them in the back of our minds, but our minds remember them. Although our bodies may forget and our heart may forget, our minds remember the rhythms. And so that's where we get a lot of triggers from. Because I know when I was always triggered, it was always something that I remembered, and it felt like what I remembered, and it clicked, it just clicked. I was like, oh, and I didn't know what it was. And I always guess what I did? I not responded with good information from here. And then from my intuition, I literally reacted and I behaved badly. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share with you what, we're going to go through what each of these, I would say, behaviors are, okay, what they are. So I'm going to take mental health. Now, what does, I need my glasses. I'm so terrible. Sorry about that. Sorry. What does mental health, what does it mean? What does mental health mean? Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So how you deal with the social, how you interact with the social, and your psychological, what's on your mind, how you're handling it, and then your emotional, where's it coming from? Is it coming out of your mouth? Is it coming out of your eyes? You're always crying, depressed? Is it coming out of, just shutting down and not doing any emotion, not showing any emotion? That's what mental health encompasses. That it affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also helps determine how we handle stress. So most of us, when we receive stress, or have a stressful situation or decision that we have to make, we start panicking. And what comes out of panic? Anxiety. And what comes out of anxiety? Fear. So then we start to escalate on that very module. We start to move in the direction of accelerated behavior. Okay. Then it also helps us relate to others. How are we relating to others? Are we doing exactly, because this is generational now, remember, are we doing exactly how our parents did someone else, did their boyfriends, or maybe their husband, or their, our stepdads, or our own parent, father? How are we reacting in relationship? Now, relationship doesn't just mean romantic. It means relationship with your brother, your sister, your siblings, cousins, your work, co-workers, friends, or, how are you relating to them? Are you disengaging when they do not do what you want them to do? Are you staying, engaging and then asking questions? What do you mean by that? How are you? This is how mental health affects you. On the racial side of it, racism really is a mental health issue, because it stops you from relating to others in authority, right? And the last part is how you make choices. Because generationally, if your mother or your dad made a choice, you saw that. So we replicate what we see. We see that, and then guess what? It becomes a pattern. So we may not want our alcoholic dad or our alcoholic mom or our emotional mother or emotional father, but guess what we get? We choose what we're familiar with because we saw it. It affects how we make choices. Mental health is important in our every stage of our life, from childhood to adolescence, all the way through adulthood. Okay? Now, what is behavioral health? Behavioral health is the umbrella. Okay, it includes mental health, and it can extend into substance abuse conditions. So you use behavioral health is that you take a substance, whether it be alcohol, drugs, um, even outbursts, even responding to someone so trajectory that it doesn't seem normal. If you ask the question that kind of triggers you, you're over the top, even that. And you use even food, you use that, even, even food, even exercise, even overworking can be a, con- a condition. It's not just substance abuse, but it can be a condition. Even overworking can be a condition. And then there's life stressors on top of that. Life stressors is life. You know, a situation where you may come up against something, right? Come up against something that you've never had to come up against. Automatically, you put up the hands. I can't deal with that because I don't know that, right? But healthy behavior is, let me be open to that and ask questions. What do you mean by that? What is that? I need to understand what that means, and asking effective questions so that you can gather information to be able to let that in and process that. Crisis, such as death, such as someone going to the hospital, even you going to the hospital, something simple as you getting fired. Those are all life things that you kind of go over the top and or just kind of curl up and say, I can't deal with that. Then there's physical symptoms like hyperventilation, right? Um, then there's, fight or flight. You fight or you flight. You get out of there, right? Physical things that happen. Your heart starts palpitating. Blood pressure goes up. Your feet may even swell. Your hands, you may even get tremors. But you may experience physical symptoms. Can you please mute yourself, please? Thank you. So those things may even happen to you. And then there's health behaviors. Now, when I say health behaviors, I mean, you know, you know, and we all know this, that you could be eating something that the doctor said you can't have, but I gotta have it. I'm intolerant, right? And I'm also lactose intolerant. Not because I want to be, believe me, I want to eat everything, but because my body is rejecting it, right? But I may go ahead and do it and then suffer consequences. Well, that's kind of like abuse to yourself. It's abuse to yourself. I know if I eat a pizza, which is full of gluten, full of cheese, I'm going to have a tremendous swelling of my body, right? And I'm going to have a stomach ache, right? Just a stomach ache. Feels like I'm giving birth to a child. But you still go about doing it. Health behaviors that you continue to do that you shouldn't do. Behavioral health conditions also affect medical illnesses. So if you have an illness like diabetes, if you have a condition like what else? Oh, gluten intolerance, you forego that and you go ahead and do what you want to do and then suffer the consequences. Behavioral health. Then there's emotional health. Our emotional health is an intrinsic part of an overall healthy lifestyle, and it's also sometimes called emotional well-being. Maintaining a good emotional health is about our ability to manage and regulate our emotions and build up resilience when we face tough times. Now, there are going to be times that you're going to cry, but if you're emotionally healthy, you're going to cry with an agenda. Okay, I'm going to cry, get this all out. I broke up with my boyfriend. I'm going to cry, get it over with. I broke up with him. Now, what do I do with those tears? What do I do with that? Now I have to start thinking. Now I have to start logically putting things in order. Okay, what did I do in the relationship? And be honest about it. What did I do? Okay, I contributed to this, this, and this. You don't have to take everything, and you shouldn't take everything. A relationship is just what it is, relating together with someone else. And you get on, just like the word looks, ship, you get on, you both get on, and you ride it through. And when the ship stops, hey, it stops. And it's because it's supposed to end, and you got to learn the lesson from it. The reason why a lot of us go through emotional unhealthiness is because we want to ride the ship after it stops sailing. We want to continue it, not because we know that it's not good for us. We know. It's that it's familiar because we saw it way back then, way back at 5, way back at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We saw it, and we got to stick to it, and we hold to the law of our brain, that's in our brain, that's engraved in our brain. Relationships should go to the final step. We're supposed to be together forever. That's things that we agreed to. That then our body acts out, and we take on and we stay in situations we shouldn't. It then leads to us behaviorally to start to behave badly and not deal with the crisis at hand. So we stay in that, and then the next step would be now our mental health is in jeopardy because of the bad choices now that we're making in that behavioral part. Now, I want to step to emotional health. And before I do that, before I even get started with that, I want to ask everyone that would like to share, if you could go to the box and you can say, who here has experienced some type of trauma? And you can put it in the box. If you're willing to share, you don't have to share, but who here has experienced trauma? So I'll give you a couple seconds. And you can go to the chat box and do that. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Diamond. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Robin. So you know that trauma has a lot to do with how you work life, how you go through life. You know that. So how you handle life is from that trauma base. So have you ever seen someone, and I'm going to give you a visual. Have you ever seen someone that you just look at them and they say, oh, wow, they're not at a Halloween festival or anything. It's not Halloween, but they look like they're from the 80s. They're dressed like them, right? Okay, I'm sorry, Shanae. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Um, but they look like they're from the 80s, right? They look like they're from the 80s. Like, wow, they got the same get up from the 80s. And it's not Halloween. Or you see someone dressed in the 70s, right? Guess where they are? Their brain is in that time. It's there. It's where they felt safest. So they dress and they stay there. That's where they feel safe. So, and that's why we should never judge anyone at all, because we don't know what happened to them in that time. So it's very important to understand where you are. Where do you feel safe? Like, what time period did you feel safe? Those are questions you need to ask yourself. When did I ever feel safe? When was there a time that I really felt safe? You know, so that you can go back to that time and bask in that, and ask yourself, because you can do that. As a child, I use um, my ability to be creative and imagination to phase out. When I was being abused, I would phase out and go to another world, create my own world in my brain. So what happened after years of that? I lost my creativity because it was connected to my trauma. So what did I have to do? I had to act like I had to act like a 12-year-old when I was 30. So your little child will have to be taken care of. And I know you guys probably heard that word, your little child. Well, that's what happened in the experience when I told you about, you see people that are dressed in the 80s and it's not Halloween, or you see them dressed in the 70s. Their little child is still there, although the adult body is still there. You have to now grow up into the age you are. And I had to do a lot of work because I had to take care of my little child, because no one else took care of my little child. Now it's my responsibility to do. Out of that, um, what happened with me is that I felt alone, and I know you all can relate to that. And if you can relate to that, raise your hand. I know all of us can relate to that. We all felt alone, like none of us, nobody was that felt this, nobody experienced it. No, it was just me all by myself. And I was just horrible, you know. It was all horrible because I was alone. But what I do believe and what I do know is I always leaned on the word alone, but then there's a time that there's solitude. And if we think of the song, Michael Jackson put out something, Man in the Mirror, all the work, all that work that we have to do to kind of get ourselves to a place that we're feeling like ourselves, and our inner child is at the age that our body is work on our part. It's all inner work. It's nothing out here. It's not even the medications. It's the work, even that if you have to do something with substance abuse, guess who does the work? It's not the counselors, it's you. And being heroic in what you do, because you want to take that and you want to guide your own horse. It's you, day in and day out. It's you. And whether you trip, nobody else, and you fall, but then you can get up. It has nothing to do with willpower. I want you to know that, because willpower can fluctuate in different situations. It has to do with your inner power that you decided that you're going to change every aspect of your life, right? Everything that you do, you're going to change that. You have the power. See, what happens when we are victims of trauma, we give the power to somebody else. So we take the keys and we hand them over to someone else. We just say, okay. And then you start to think, and this is what I've done. I start to think, how am I going to get this person back? They need to pay for this. And you start so absorbing into those thoughts and thinking about how can I, someone needs to pay. It's your fault. It's this and that. And you start to de- decompartmentalize things and start giving out, taking your chips and giving it, doling out to other people. Right now, you already gave your keys away, the power to someone else. You already gave it to them. Now you're taking the chips of your life, the parts of you, pieces of you, and you're giving it to everybody else. That's the power of the inner, your inner emotional power. When you learn to establish your emotional well being, you start to understand who the person you are. Now, emotional awareness is simply what it is. It's being aware, not caring about, and I'm not trying to say be selfish, but being selfless, not caring about what someone says, what someone does, how they look, what they've done, um, but to start to be aware of how you feel. Being aware, okay, yeah, I'm alone in this. You're right, because I came here alone. I came here alone. I didn't come with a group of people. I didn't. So now in my aloneness, how am I going to switch that to solitude and try to understand myself as a person? What I want, who I want to be, who I should be, and what my emotions tell me that I am experiencing at this moment. Now, you should be able to learn as life teaches you lessons, events teach you, stressors teach you. You will be able to manage your emotions. I was very emotional all the time. I will tell you all the time. And I let my emotions get the best of me because it's just what it is. Energy in motion. And guess what? When those energy in motion stops, guess what happens to you? You stop. We are nothing but energy. We're human bodies embedded with energy, the inner person. That inner person has to take control of your well-being emotionally. So it's the ability to be able to accept and manage your emotions and cope with the challenges throughout life, because life is still going to be here if we're gone. That's what my suicide attempt taught me. Life is still going to be doing what it does when I'm gone. It's still going to be doing what it does. You have no bearing on that. You have, it's, life is going to happen regardless. So you have to get to that point in your inner life that it's not problematic, that stressful situations will pass through, and dilemmas in relationships and your personal life are managed. Your emotional health and well-being are the first beginnings to your behavioral and your mental health. That's how it goes. It goes emotional, behaviors, then mental. It just rolls itself up. And then you're pretty soon those pressures become anxiety. And anxiety brings you to whole mental health and issues with mental health around it. And then it takes your focus away because guess what you're doing? You're focusing on the anxiety, and the anxiety is nothing but an emotion. What is why am I here at this anxiety stage? Well, I got emotional about what someone said. Now I have anxiety. That's what awareness is talking to yourself and checking yourself and say, I got emotional because of what this person said. Now, what did they say? They said, I didn't do my work well. I didn't do my work well. Are you kidding me? And you start by getting emotional. And guess where that comes from? Fear. Now, if you did your work well, you'd be like, that's not true. Share with me when I didn't do my work well. But if you did, it's nothing but your ego being touched. And then your ego sends off your emotions. And your emotions take you over, and then you're answering and you're reacting the wrong way. And behaviors start happening because you're stressed. And then pretty soon, to continue that, your mental health is out of balance. Trust me, I've been there, I know. So whenever life passes you problematic and stressful situations, check your emotions, check them first, and get them under control so that it doesn't snowball into a whole nother level. Emotional well-being can affect how well you function day to day and how you are able to deal with changes of uncertainty. Now, anxiety is nothing more than being concerned with what's going to happen next. And when you're anxious about what's going to happen next, means I have no control. And when I have no control, I don't like that. Awareness is being real with yourself. I'm a control freak. And I'm saying me, I'm not saying anyone else. I'm a control freak. Okay, I got it. And that's okay. That's really okay. But there's some situations you can't control. And guess who you can only control? You. You can't control anyone else. So you can't get mad at anyone else for acting the way they do, but you can get mad at yourself for acting the way you do. And that's important that to your emotional health. Difficulties in emotional well-being may have a negative effect on your person, your mental health, and your physical health. Palpitations. I used to get palpitations. I was at work, and work was really stressing me out. I mean, I had a whole lot of other stressors on top of that, and plus the systemic racism within it. I would immediately, when it was time for work, no kidding you, I would get a migraine, and I never had a migraine in my life. Never had any health issues in my life. But I'll tell you this is I decided I'm not dealing with that. When things are out of sorts, you get out. It wasn't fight or flight. It was like, this is not making me feel good. This is not making me feel happy. This is not making my body feel good. And yes, you may need help to do that. You may need a therapist. You may even need a life coach. You may need medications. But the fact is, your well-being is paramount. Your emotional well-being is paramount. And you cannot afford to lose that. And you cannot afford not to see the signs, not to see the difficulties that you're experiencing. And I want to be able to help you improve it, because it's the first tip of the iceberg before behavioral and before mental health starts. The National Center for Emotional Wellness describes emotional wellness or well-being as awareness, understanding, and acceptance of your feelings. Now, remember I told you in the beginning, just hearing the words children should be seen and not heard affect your feelings. So you take that and you say, I can't even feel anything. So if I hurt myself, I got to be quiet and hold it in and then whisper it later on. And then, even then, I might not be heard. But accepting your feelings, yes, I'm hurt. And understanding, yeah, I'm allowed to feel this way. And being aware it hurts and dealing with it. Yes, you may not have been able to do it as a child because of your circumstances or your surroundings. Yeah, you may have. But now you have the ability to manage that effectively, to change that, and even to challenge it. See, I'm talking to you to challenge your own self, challenge what you were told, challenge what you were taught. Even in the religious sector, challenge that. Anything that tells you not to do something and to make you judgmental is worth a challenge. Anything, anything at all. If you question something, it's worth a challenge. What if that's not true? And it's not asking anybody outside. It's all inner work. What if that's not true? Self, is that really true? Is that really real? And it's okay that if no one else kind of agrees with you, I'm sure there is, but no one else agrees with you in your sphere of influence, it's okay because everyone is individual. Emotions are uncomfortable, they're painful, and sometimes they're even overwhelming. Just the thoughts can affect how well you do as an individual and how you function. Take, for instance, when my son was hurt, I couldn't even think at work. I was like, I got to get out of here. I couldn't even think. I had to kind of manage that before I can deal with work because all I was doing was thinking that. So imagine thinking something that you don't know you're thinking and agreeing to something that you don't know you're agreeing to. It's all because of trauma that you felt. So a situation where you may had a traumatic car accident or been injured by someone or perpetrated by someone or someone saying something to you that really hurt you. Glossing over it isn't going to work because you were emotional, that hurt you, and you weren't able to say that hurt me. You are not allowed to do that. You didn't say that. You weren't able to have a voice in that. That voice went inward and stayed there and stayed quiet and hushed. And now it's acting out as your little child. It's acting out in your behaviors. It's acting out how you do things. And it's definitely medically and mentally doing something to your body. By gaining awareness of your emotions and how you feel and how you process that. See, that's so very important how you process that. Yeah, you're allowed to get angry. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to feel all these emotions that you have. There's a reason why you have them. It's to express them, not use them to manipulate, but to express them. Emotions are expressions. They're energy. You're just like when you smile, that's energy, right? When you're angry and it comes out of your mouth and you're saying words, that's energy. People stand back when you talk, yeah. So that's energy. You can regain a feeling of control and you can minimize difficulties and continue to function healthy in a healthy way. But emotions has a big part of what happens. So now I want to ask you all, I know that you all have been sitting quiet. I want to know, Now, in my questions to you, and you can answer, you don't have to, but you can answer. Um, do you think that you're right now living the life that you want? And you can answer in the chat box. Okay, thank you, Diamond. Thank you, Rob. Now, I'm going to ask you another question. What do you think, and I want you all to kind of help each other. What do you think is one step that you can actually help yourself move towards the life you want? Just one tiny step. I'm not talking about like a gigantic one, but one tiny step. What's one tiny step? It's real easy because I know you guys know it. Oh, thank you being here, Stephanie. Thank you. But what's one tiny step? And I'm gonna tell you how I dug myself out. It was amazing. Okay, having faith in my step. What's your faith? Trusting in yourself. Ideal. Trusting yourself to do what? To make that step? Excellent. Eliminate negativity. Now, that's a good one. And I want to help you with that. You can eliminate negativity, but you know there's good and evil. So you have to accept that there's negativity. Now, you have to agree to it here. And I'm gonna tell you, you can say that you're gonna speak positive, but your brain has those little patterns already. So for instance, when I was never told I was pretty ever in my life, never told I was good at anything. I would do a whole lot of everything. A whole lot of doing everything, getting certificates, going to school, all these great things, doing great things, never told anything. Guess who had to tell me that I was beautiful? Guess. That is correct. I did. So what I did was I affirmed every day, I am beautiful. I took a sticky, stuck it on my closet door, stuck it on my lamp. So when I turn my lamp on, all of a sudden, I am beautiful. I read that. I am beautiful. Went into the bathroom. I may have not felt it. I saw that I was beautiful and I said it to myself. I said it to myself. You are your number one cheerleader. And what that did is it made me smile. I was like, I can't believe I'm telling myself this. And then, start looking. Now, I started to believe that. I started to reprogram what I was told. You'll never be any good. You're just like your dad. And honestly, I didn't know my dad. So I was like, okay, I'm zero. Because I don't even know. So what I'm saying to you is that you're your first own cheerleader. So how do you get that first step? Is how do you get out of that aloneness? Is develop at least 5 affirmations. 5. If something is hurting you, okay, the trauma of you, like let's say for me, trauma, my first affirmation, I am not what happened to me. That's it. I am not what happened to me. I am not what happened to me. I said that for maybe 3 months. And I made sure I put it in my phone, put it on sticky pads. I am not what happened to me. I am not what happened to me. I am better than that. I am not what happened to me. It wasn't my fault. I knew no better, but I know I am better. That was one of my affirmations. You always be your best cheerleader, your own cheerleader. So that's a one small step. Now I saw that some put respect yourself. Well, when your brain has been fed all this stuff over years and you're traumatized, you can't respect yourself because you don't know what respect is. You've seen disrespect, Now you have to retrain yourself and unlearn what disrespect is. You have to unlearn that. So you've learned all these years what disrespect was, but you have no idea what respect is because you don't know what it is. So how are you respecting yourself? First of all, you're loving every curve of your body. You're loving your hair. You're loving your eyebrows. You're loving the wrinkles. I think I have a couple, but you're loving that. You're loving all of that. You're reprogramming what you learned. You know that unlearning is the best sign of self-care. Unlearning. So that's challenging everything that you ever were told. You were told that you didn't look good. You weren't going to be anything. You say, oh yeah, I am good for something. You know, even though you may not know what it is at that moment, I am good for something. I'm good. You know, you have to unlearn all that information. Okay? Because it impedes your emotional well-being. It impedes how you feel. I remember when I was, I think I was 25, and I was modeling with in the city, and everyone's around me is telling me how great I look and all of that, and it wasn't going in. And I would walk around literally with, I guess they call it the resting bitch face. And I was like, all the time. And somebody said to me, why do you look so mean? Now, I didn't take it insultive. I didn't take it like that. I thought about it and I said, yeah, why am I looking like this? Because I was unhappy. I was not happy with myself. I was listening to the unheard voices that was playing in my head that I didn't even know that I was paying attention to. I was listening to it. And I had no idea I was listening. It was my unconscious replaying the tape. You're not going to be anything. You're not going to be good at this. You're just like your father. All of these things, these things were playing in my brain. And it was resting. Guess where it was resting? In my body. Guess where it was resting? In my face. That's where we have to be. That's what emotion, that was my emotion. I was not aware of my own emotion. My own emotions of being not upset with anybody, but upset with myself because I was listening to the tape. And although I was doing great things, I didn't cheer myself on. I didn't love myself enough to see how beautiful and what great things I was doing. I wasn't celebrating myself. I had given the key to someone else and taking pieces of me and divvying it out. Oh yeah, they did this to me. Yeah. And I was giving all pieces of me to everybody else. And everybody had control over me. Excuse my dog. He thinks he's like gigantic. He's only 4 pounds, but excuse him. So I want you to get to the place. That's the first step that you do is those affirmations, which is so empowering. It starts to chip away at your limiting thoughts. Chip away. It doesn't happen overnight. I think I did that for about a year. And then I started creating other affirmations on all my traumas. I started creating other, positive affirmations that agreed to me. I didn't take on anybody else's affirmations. I created my own that made me feel good. And that is what you have to do, is create your life, create what you want to overcome. Emotionally, being bound like that, you have to take it step by step. And it's almost like taking off one mask at a time, because you live like this for years, taking off this mask, taking off that mask. And listen, you've seen actors when they get all masked up. It's not fun. when you take off a mask. It's pulling the real skin and it's hurting. Like it's uncomfortable, right? It's totally uncomfortable. It looks uncomfortable. I've had, modeling makeup on and I don't like it. And it's heavy. I never liked it. And so could you imagine a whole mask you have to pull off? It's uncomfortable, but it's all well worth the effort to dig deep down into you. Okay? So why is emotional well-being important? It's important because it affects how people function and carry out your everyday life, right? You have to carry that out. Your issues and emotions and well-being, all of that affects you, period. We talked about that. It affects everything. High blood pressure, a weakened immune system, increased illness. It affects everything. You have to learn how to handle stressful situations and challenges. And most of all, adapt to change. And that's all us. It has nothing to do with anyone else. It's all us. And why do we don't want change? Because we saw it. That don't change. And someone probably said, not gonna change, not gonna change. It's gonna be the same. Leopard doesn't change their spots. Unconscious. That's playing over in your head. It's playing over in your head. And you wonder, why am I doing the same things over? Leopard doesn't change its spots. Things that people say when you were younger have a profound effect on your life. Profound. Now, what are some factors that can influence your emotional well-being? Challenges at work, school, relationships, and even your home life. Changes in your health, changes in your relationships, retirement, even the changes in your social circus, in your circles, right? And even your sense of purpose. Many people think, and I teach this a lot too, your sense of purpose is supposed to be the same at all times. It changes. And we don't accept, what's the word? Change. We don't accept it, so we fight it. And we often get stuck, like, why am I not my purpose? Yet what is your purpose? Something somebody told you? Something that somebody pronounced over your life? Or are you obeying the inner, are you obeying the inner purpose? You feel it, you know it's there, you're listening to this and everyone telling you, right? But you don't obey and just like let it flow. Also, factor of losing a loved one, moving. I've seen so many children, working with so many children, moving different. All of us are different. And where we are at our weakest stage, if trauma comes in, breaks us down even further. Okay? So how can we can really improve our emotional well-being? Have someone, a safe person, whether it be a therapist, a friend, a mentor, a life coach, listen, or a place that you can speak and listen. It may not even always be 12 steps. It may not even be. There's so many other avenues to change. It may not even be. Have a safe place for listen, just someone to listen. Be able to say how you feel. If somebody asks you, how you doing today? And it could be your friend. I'm fine. Stop lying and say, I'm not fine today. I need you to listen to me. We lie to ourselves and we lie to everyone else. Stop saying fine. Fine is not a condition. I don't even know what fine is. Stop saying okay. That's not even a condition. It's not even an emotion. Just say, I'm not doing good today, but thank you for asking. If you don't want to expound on it, Be truthful. First thing, first step, be truthful. Stay involved in your life and find something that interests you, that you enjoy. If nobody else was with you, that you would love it. I love canoeing. Nobody has to be with me. I love horseback riding. Nobody has to be with me, although the trainer has to be there because I don't know everything about, horses. I'm not like an avid, rider. I just love it. Um, I love writing. I can write for hours and not realize I'm writing for hours, right? If you like to draw, if you like art, if you like um, creating things, taking paper, you like making, I forget what it's called, but you like making paper, whatever they are, do it and get lost in it and love it. If you like washing dishes, literally, do it and feel the suds, feel the water, enjoy every moment of it. Okay. And if you're having a difficult time, seek support, and work through it. If you have a therapist, really work through it. The thing with therapy, you have to really want, it's not the fact of just going there and hearing them and getting out what you gotta, but what are you doing to actually be very actionable about what you're doing? Being in therapy is great. Don't get me wrong, it's great. But are you using it or facilitating it? What are you doing with it? Are you using it? Okay, yeah, I gotta go. Da, 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 da. And you're not taking the guidance, and then you're not using the tools. Because listen, I know a lot of people with a lot of tools, but they don't use them. That's the difference. Use the tools. See, if I wouldn't have used the tools, I probably would end up dead. I would have killed myself because I didn't use the tools. I decided if I'm going to go to therapy, I'm going to use those tools. It's just like going to college. If you're going to college, are you going to take arbitrary classes and waste years and years and years and years? Or are you going to get that certificate, associate's degree, master's degree, bachelor's degree, doctorate? What are you going to do? Or are you just going to wasting time? It's the inner work, the inner work. Are we going to just sit and just continue letting life take advantage of us, or are we going to take advantage of life and live? Again, encourage, you need to be encouraged to have interests. You need to be encouraged to come out of your shell and love yourself first. Build a positive routine. When I never worked for anyone after the age of 27. I had my own business, and I worked for people. I worked prior to that and had great jobs, but I owned my own business. Not until recently in my 50s did I start working for someone else for about 4 years. I told them when I went there, I have a regimen already, and I can't be to work at 9 o'clock. They was like, what? I said, no, I have to meditate and exercise. Those things are really important in my life. And I'm not at work, waking up early. This is when I do it, and I'll come at 10. But this is something that I have to do. I build a positive routine and I make it prevalent in my life. I make it priority. Build a positive routine. Exercising, routine. If I can't do 30 minutes, I'm doing 15. Or I'm breaking the 30 minutes up into 15 during the day. But one thing is for sure, that's on the priority of my list. Many of my clients come to me and say, oh, I don't have time for exercise. It's like, yeah, but do you have time to die? Do you have the time to be sick? Do you have time to gain weight and worry about why I gained weight? You have the time. It's not your priority. So what's on your priority list? Build a priority list, right? And then build a healthy routine. Take what your therapist, your life coach, your mentor, take what they say seriously. Take what they say seriously. And if you're not comfortable with whoever you're working with, change, move things around. And then as your own, I guess your own being, what you say to yourself, you take that seriously and be aware of what you're saying. A lot of what I would say to you is you need to start journaling things. I know a lot of you probably are, and that's great. But have you gone over it to see if you conquered that challenge? Have you checked that out? You know? That's awareness. That's not just doing things arbitrarily, not going back and follow through is part of life. Follow up is part of life. It's just part of things, and it makes things easier. So if you're experiencing difficulties in your emotional well-being, like persistence of sadness or hopelessness, you're feeling irritable, tearful, angry. I know I was when I was experiencing what I was at work. I started feeling that way. It wasn't me. I was out of character. I withdrew socially. I wasn't hanging out with my friends, having lunch dates with them. I lost interest in doing things that I like to do because I was totally absorbed into the stressor and not being aware of how I was feeling. I wasn't sleeping. I was eating, but the wrong things. And then sometimes you do change, you change your eating habits, you eat less. I was always restless and irritable, and I was just agitated. And I was always tired. No matter what I did, I was just like no energy. And actually, I bought like B12, which is sitting here right now. I neglected my self-care. And I was always a dresser. I was always, getting, dolled up, and not too much. Let me just say that, not too much. I just love to do my hair, and I love earrings. I love earrings. And I just didn't feel like being involved. If you're feeling like that, it's time to check your emotional well-being. It's time to check it. Now, how do you be mindful? How do you start becoming mindful? I'm going to ask you all that question, before we get started. How do you think that we start becoming mindful? How do you become mindful of your emotional health? You could answer in the chat if you like. Oh, yes, Stephanie, it's origami. Yeah, right. That's what it is, origami. I couldn't think of the word. So how do you think you can start being aware of your emotional health? Anybody at all? Okay. That's really good, Stephanie. No, I'm sorry. That's to stay in the moment. Stay in the moment. Where anxiety takes us to moments that we don't even know about. We start anticipating of trying to figure out what's going to happen in the near future. Staying in the moment is important. Notice them. Notice your feelings and notice your triggers. What triggers you? Well, if you know what triggers you, guess what? You won't be too apt to be tricked the next time or triggered the next time. You'll be gotta check that. Thank you, Stephanie. That was really good. So those are some really good tips. But what I found that really works was breathing deeply. You know how when you get mad, and you really get mad, right? You're like, but it doesn't That doesn't come out. And he goes, it doesn't come out, but breathe deeply and let that air out and do it like 5 times. I used to tell my grandson that when he was just experiencing middle school, and he's like talking to him out, it's like, breathe deeply 5 times. And he's like, I feel better. It's like, yeah, because you're thinking about the breath now and not what's happening. And now you're getting oxygen in and you can think. The oxygen's going to your brain and tape is not playing and the anger's not going there. It's all coming out. The other way that I found was take a walk. Okay, say you can't go outside, right? Just say you can't go outside. It's snowing. What's wrong with taking a walk around your coffee table about 20 times? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with walking in the hallway at your job? What's wrong with that? Take a walk. Pay attention to your breathing and engage in that. Disengage from your surroundings, but engage in that. And then notice your thoughts. Start noticing your thoughts. And what tips us over to anxiety is worry. Notice your worry, how it comes into your mind. And then bring your awareness back to the present moment. Bring it back. All right? Some of us stressful eaters, when we're eating, we are eating in stress mode, and some of us eat ice cream. I don't. My downfall is chips, Lay's, of course. And when I'm stressed, I go for those. Eat mindfully. Take time, even when you're stressing, right? Take time to smell the food. One of my exercises when I was going to therapy was to chew my food 13 times. No matter what it was, it could be Jell-O. Chew it 13 times. What does that do? It gives you time to think about the food, smell it, and really taste it. And notice the textures, the flavors. Then it gets your mind off it. What I'm saying with mindful eating, do the same thing. Smell the food, taste it. Even if you're starting to stress, when I pick up the chips, if I'm starting to stress, I'll go and I'll inhale. And then you know what? I won't go back for the second batch. I won't do that. And then pay attention to when your body feels hungry and when it feels full. Pay attention, right? If it's not hungry or full, pay attention to that. Then the other thing is, do a body scan of yourself. Mentally, when I used to get very upset, I'd sit in the chair, straight, and mentally I would go through, what am I feeling? Do I have a headache? Are my temples pulsating? Are my ears burning? I would go all the way down to my toes, figure it all out, do a total body scan from head to toe, and bring your awareness to how each part of your body feels. If you're upset, usually my hands kind of warm up and my ears warm up when I'm really upset. So do a body scan. Take a second and just breathe and do a body scan. What's going on? Manage or reduce your stress. Manage or reduce that. If something's stressing you, you have to bow out, get out of that. When I was learning about my emotional states, what I did was I really said, okay, this is not good for me, because this volunteerism kind of upsets me and it puts a strain on me. So I'm going to bow out and let someone else that can do that more smoothly, and get out of that. Taking a lot off your plate can actually give you that reduced stress, and you'll be able to manage it. Being in a rush around, you're in a heightened state and you get emotional, then it heightens even more. Then you're in a state that stress is taking over, and then you're feeling unhealthy. Then you're feeling, tired, and just totally not able to do anything. So be aware of that. Um, Always do some exercises, always, and try to sleep. I love sleep, but try to sleep, and like I said, setting your priorities and scheduling time. Most of all, scheduling time to relax. Okay. Schedule time to relax. Yes, I know it's very hard to do. Um, and finally, practice self compassion. Focus on your achievements, what you've achieved, and celebrate them, even if no one else does. Self compassion is a gift to yourself. Okay. I celebrate everything. If I accomplished completing a task, oh, yes. What should I have? What should I do? If I get enough of, as I said, the stars on my weekly check off. Okay, I'm gonna do this for myself. I'm gonna go to Starbucks and do this for myself and sit here and do that. I reward myself, do something for myself that only I can do. Now I know that we have 5 minutes, 6 minutes left. So if you would like to ask a couple of questions, I'm open to that. Or if you'd like to just send me an email and send those questions to me, I can actually give you my email and we can do that. But if you have a question right now, it is question and answer time. I think I've given you enough information to talk regarding emotional health. So if you have any questions, I am open to 2 or 3 of them at this point. You're welcome to unmute yourself if you like. You don't have to put it in the chat box, but you're welcome to unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm sorry. Are you gonna share this again?
Yes.
And I don't know how I got on this, but thank you so very much. I feel like I'm looking at an older version of myself. I really do. And it's really weird, but I don't know how I stumbled on this, but thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I apologize so much that I mispronounced your name.
Oh, no, it's fine. And thank you for correcting that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for being here.
And where can I find this? I'm sorry, where can I find this afterwards?
I actually am recording this, so it will be posted where you saw the event. If not, I will provide it to you separately.
Can I just get, I don't mind if anybody has my email. I mean,
sure, just what you do is go to the chat box and put a direct message to me and I'll add it. I'll add you to
Thank you. Okay.
Anyone else?
I would like to acknowledge the fact that you're very good and motivation. I am very a motivated person. I love to make people laugh. I like to see the best of everyone, but me, myself, I struggle with a lot of anxiety and depression, and it's always good to take care of that. So to you, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad you're here, Blanca. I'm glad you're here. Thank you, Esther. Thank you for that. Great. So if you all want the video, I'm going to add it to the event and I think it'll be there for like 30 days. So, or I can actually email it to you, whichever that you think is good. And it'll have the, I guess the transcript and, verbal, the writing. So if you want that, that'll be great. Okay, I'll send it to whomever's here and I'll keep the chat box information. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Please, if you have any comments about this and you want to review it, please go back to the event, or there's going to be a survey at the end when we get off. and it'll be sent to you and you can answer it yes or no, So I really do appreciate you. And if you are on today, I do have a free self-care PDF that I can send you. And because there's 12 of you, I will mail you all my book, The Abundance Mindset. So just put your emails to me and I will email you all separately, together, but you all send me your mailing address and I'll mail you the books together. And I really thank you for being here. All right, now, everyone have a wonderful evening.